Right now, while you're watching this video, there are 11 specific food products sitting on store shelves that could become your family's lifeline during the next supply chain disruption, natural disaster, or economic squeeze. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to make sure you're prepared. Because back in 2012, when I started prepping, I learned one critical lesson. The best time to stockpile essential foods is before you need them, not when everyone else is rushing to do the same thing. I'm Zach, and I've been prepping since 2012, and today I'm breaking down the 11 food products you should be buying right now, why they matter, and exactly how to store them so they're ready when life gets unpredictable. Let's start with something you probably already have in your pantry but aren't storing nearly enough of: white rice. Now, I know what you're thinking. Rice? That's basic. But hear me out. White rice is one of the most calorie-dense, budget-friendly, long-term storage foods on the planet. We're talking about 1,700 calories per pound, and when stored properly in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, white rice can last 25 to 30 years. That's not a typo, 30 years. Brown rice might be more nutritious, but it'll only last you 6 months to a year because of the oils in the brand. White rice is your long-term insurance policy. Back in 2014, I made the mistake of buying 50 pounds of brown rice thinking I was being healthy. A year later, half of it had gone rancid. Lesson learned. For your stockpile, stick with white rice. Basmati, jasmine, or long grain, they all work beautifully. And here's the thing most people don't realize. Rice isn't just a side dish. It's a foundation. You can eat it for breakfast as a porridge, lunch in a stir-fry, dinner in a soup, or even turn it into a dessert. One 50-pound bag of rice from a bulk store costs around $20 to $30 and can feed a family of 4 for weeks. That's the kind of return on investment that makes sense no matter what your budget looks like. Number 2 on our list pairs perfectly with rice, and together these two create what I call the dynamic duo of preparedness: dried beans. Beans are your protein powerhouse. They're packed with fiber, iron, and essential amino acids. When you combine rice and beans in the same meal, you're creating a complete protein that rivals meat. And just like rice, dried beans stored in proper conditions can last up to 30 years. I'm talking about black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, navy beans, lentils. Buy variety. Because when you're 6 months into an emergency and you're eating from your stockpile, variety becomes more than just nice to have. It becomes essential for morale. A 50-pound bag of beans costs roughly the same as rice, maybe $30 to $40, and provides an incredible amount of nutrition. Now here's a pro tip I learned the hard way. Before you stockpile 100 pounds of beans, cook a small batch of each variety to make sure your family actually likes them. I once bought 25 pounds of Great Northern beans because they were on sale, only to discover that nobody in my house would eat them. Don't make my mistake. Test first, then stockpile. And if you're worried about the cooking time for dried beans, here's what I do. I keep both dried beans for long-term storage and several cases of canned beans for quick meals. Canned beans are already cooked and can be eaten straight from the can if necessary.
Speaking of canned goods, let's talk about number 3, canned vegetables. Fresh produce is wonderful when it's available, but when supply chains get disrupted or prices spike, canned vegetables become gold. I'm talking about green beans, corn, carrots, peas, tomatoes, and mixed vegetables. These canned items typically have a shelf life of 2 to 5 years, and honestly, they often stay good well beyond that date as long as the cans aren't damaged, bulging, or rusted. Canned vegetables are pre-cooked, which means they require minimal preparation. You can eat them cold if you have to, or heat them up for a more satisfying meal. They retain most of their vitamins and minerals because they're canned at peak freshness. And here's something I discovered during a power outage in 2016. When you don't have access to your refrigerator and your fresh vegetables are spoiling, having a pantry full of canned vegetables means you can still put a balanced meal on the table. I aim for at least 50 to 100 cans of mixed vegetables in my stockpile. That might sound like a lot, but when you break it down, that's only enough for about 2 to 3 months if you're eating them regularly. Buy what's on sale, rotate your stock, and always check those expiration dates before you put them in your cart. Stores sometimes put older inventory out front. Number 4 is probably sitting in your pantry right now, and you're not giving it the respect it deserves: pasta. Whether it's spaghetti, penne, macaroni, or egg noodles, pasta is a shelf-stable superstar.
In its original packaging, pasta can last 1 to 2 years. But if you want to take it to the next level, repackage it in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, and you're looking at 20 to 30 years of shelf life. I learned about this technique back in 2015, and it completely changed how I approach long-term food storage. Pasta is incredibly versatile. You can make traditional Italian dishes, add it to soups, create casseroles, or even eat it plain with just butter and salt. It's filling, it's affordable, and kids actually like it. That last point matters more than you might think. When you're trying to keep your family fed during stressful times, having foods that everyone will eat without complaint is invaluable. A pound of pasta costs about $1 on average, sometimes less when it's on sale. Stock up on at least 50 to 100 pounds spread across different shapes. Why different shapes? Because eating the same thing over and over gets old fast. Variety keeps everyone's spirits up. Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked, but absolutely shouldn't. Number 5, canned proteins. I'm talking about canned tuna, canned chicken, canned salmon, canned turkey, and even canned ham or Spam. Yes, Spam. I know it gets a bad rap, but when you need a reliable protein source that requires zero refrigeration and lasts for years, Spam delivers. Canned tuna is my personal favorite because it's affordable, it's packed with protein and omega-3 fatty acids, and it's incredibly versatile. You can make tuna salad, add it to pasta, mix it with rice, or eat it straight from the can. A 6-ounce can of tuna typically provides about 40 grams of protein, which is substantial. Canned chicken is another winner. You can use it in soups, sandwiches, casseroles, or salads. The shelf life on canned proteins is typically 2 to 5 years, but many preppers have reported that properly stored canned meats remain safe and edible well beyond that time frame. Just make sure the cans aren't dented, rusted, or bulging. I keep at least 30 to 50 cans of assorted proteins in my stockpile at any given time. During a particularly tight month in 2018, we actually lived off our stockpile for 3 weeks, and those canned proteins made it possible to have satisfying, filling meals even though we weren't buying fresh meat.
All right, we're at the halfway point, and this is where I want to pause and share something with you that I wish I had known when I first started prepping. Because I know how overwhelming food storage can feel. You're trying to figure out what to buy, how much to buy, where to store it, and how to actually use it without wasting money or space. That's exactly why I put together a completely free guide that walks you through building a 90-day food supply, starting with just $50. I call it the $50 Food Security Guide. And inside, you'll find the exact shopping list I use, complete with specific brands and prices. You'll also discover 37 essential preparedness items most people never think to stockpile, with number 23 being something that genuinely surprised me when I first learned about it. The guide includes simple storage strategies that work in any home or apartment, emergency meals you can make with zero cooking fuel or electricity, and even what I call the gas station snack that's perfect for bartering. This is the same system I've been refining since 2012, and it takes you step by step from 1 week of food storage all the way up to 3 months with confidence. Best part? It's completely free. I'm not selling you anything. I just want to help you get prepared. You'll find the link in the description below or in the pinned comment. Just let me know where to send it and I'll get it over to you right away. Trust me, having a clear plan makes all the difference between feeling overwhelmed and feeling empowered. All right, back to our list. Number 6 is something that every serious prepper understands the value of, but it's often underestimated by beginners. Cooking oils, specifically coconut oil. Most vegetable oils and canola oils have a shelf life of only about a year when sealed, and less than 6 months once opened. That's not ideal for long-term storage, but coconut oil is different. Virgin coconut oil can last up to 5 years, and refined coconut oil can last 2 to 3 years even after opening. Coconut oil is unique because it stores in a solid state when the temperature is below 76 degrees, which actually helps preserve it. It has a high smoke point, making it suitable for frying and high-heat cooking. And unlike some other oils, it contains natural saturated fats that are much more stable and resistant to going rancid. I keep at least 10 to 15 jars of coconut oil in my stockpile. Back in 2017, I ran an experiment where I stored coconut oil in my garage, which gets pretty warm in the summer. Even under less than ideal conditions, That oil lasted more than 3 years before showing any signs of degradation. That's impressive. You can use coconut oil for cooking, baking, and even as a non-food item for things like skincare or leather conditioning if it gets too old to consume. At around $8 to $10 per jar, it's a worthwhile investment that gives you the flexibility to prepare real food, not just survive on dry goods. Number 7 is gonna sound almost too simple, but don't skip this one. Salt. Salt is one of those forever foods. It literally does not expire. You can buy a 5-pound container of salt today, store it in your pantry for 50 years, and it'll be just as good as the day you bought it. But salt is about way more than just seasoning your food. It's a preservative. For thousands of years, humans have used salt to cure meats, preserve vegetables, and extend the shelf life of countless foods. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you need to preserve fresh meat or fish, salt becomes essential. It's also critical for maintaining your body's electrolyte balance, especially if you're working hard physically or dealing with hot weather. And here's something most people don't think about. Salt can be used to purify water in certain situations. While it's not a replacement for proper water filtration, adding a small amount of salt to questionable water can help with disinfection. I keep multiple types of salt in my stockpile. Regular table salt with iodine for everyday use, sea salt for cooking, and coarse salt for preserving. Total investment? Maybe $15 to $20 for enough salt to last years. It's one of the cheapest and most valuable items you can store.
Number 8 is something I resisted for a long time because I didn't think it was necessary, but I was wrong. Powdered milk. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Powdered milk doesn't taste exactly like fresh milk, but when you need calcium, vitamin D, and protein, and you don't have access to a refrigerator, powdered milk becomes incredibly valuable. The shelf life on powdered milk is impressive. In its original packaging, it can last 2 to 10 years depending on storage conditions. If you repackage it with oxygen absorbers and Mylar bags, some preppers report it lasting even longer. Powdered milk can be reconstituted with water to create a beverage, but more importantly, it can be used in cooking and baking. Pancakes, muffins, soups, casseroles, all of these benefit from powdered milk. I learned this during a winter storm in 2019 when we lost power for 5 days. We couldn't get to the store and our fresh milk spoiled within a day. Having powdered milk meant we could still make hot cocoa for the kids, bake cornbread, and prepare instant oatmeal with milk instead of water. Those small comforts mattered. I recommend keeping at least 5 to 10 large containers of powdered milk. Each container typically makes about 8 quarts of milk, so 10 containers give you 80 quarts. That's a substantial amount of nutrition. Number 9 is a category I call breakfast champions, and it includes oatmeal and cold cereals. Let's start with oatmeal, plain old-fashioned rolled oats or instant oatmeal. Oats are nutritious, filling, and have a shelf life of about 2 to 3 years in their original container. If you vacuum seal them or use Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, they can last 10 years or more. A serving of oatmeal provides fiber, complex carbohydrates, and a surprising amount of protein for a grain-based food. It's also incredibly versatile. You can make it sweet with honey or fruit, or savory with salt and butter. During a camping trip gone wrong in 2013, we ran out of most of our food, but we had several packs of instant oatmeal. Those packs kept us going until we could resupply. They require only hot water, or you can even eat them with cold water if necessary. For cold cereals, I'm talking about the kind that come in sealed bags. Cheerios, Corn Flakes, Bran Flakes, things like that. They might not last as long as oatmeal, typically 1 year in the original box, but they provide a quick, no-cook breakfast option that kids love. Having easy breakfast options is crucial because mornings in an emergency are often chaotic. You don't want to spend an hour cooking. You want something fast, reliable, and nutritious. Number 10 is one of those foods that people often forget about, but it's absolutely critical. Peanut butter. We're talking about one of the most calorie-dense, protein-rich, shelf-stable foods you can buy. A 2 tablespoon serving of peanut butter contains about 200 calories, 8 grams of protein, and 16 grams of fat. Those fats are mostly healthy, unsaturated fats that your body needs for energy, especially during stressful times. Peanut butter has a shelf life of about 1 to 2 years unopened, and honestly, it often stays good beyond that. I've used peanut butter that was 3 years past its printed date and it was perfectly fine. The high-fat content acts as a natural preservative. But it's not just about the shelf life, it's about the versatility and the comfort factor. You can spread peanut butter on crackers, bread, or celery. You can add it to oatmeal or smoothies. You can use it in baking or even eat it straight from the jar with a spoon when you need a quick energy boost. During Hurricane Harvey in 2017, we were without power for a week. We couldn't cook most things, but peanut butter and crackers became a staple. It required zero preparation, tasted good, and kept us full. I always keep at least 10 to 15 jars of peanut butter in various sizes. Natural peanut butter has a shorter shelf life because it doesn't contain stabilizers, so for long-term storage, I stick with the regular kind.
Number 11 is something that brings joy and nutrition in equal measure. Honey. Honey is one of the only foods that literally never expires. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that's still edible. The reason is simple. Honey has an incredibly low moisture content and is naturally acidic, which prevents bacteria and microorganisms from growing. Over time, honey might crystallize or become solid, but that doesn't mean it's gone bad. You can easily liquefy it by placing the jar in warm water or gently heating it in the microwave. Honey is more than just a sweetener. It has antibacterial properties, which is why it's been used for wound care throughout history. It can soothe sore throats and coughs. And from a food storage perspective, it adds sweetness and variety to meals that might otherwise be bland. Imagine you're 3 months into living off your stockpile. Everything starts tasting the same. But a drizzle of honey on your oatmeal, your bread, or even mixed into tea transforms the experience. It lifts your mood and provides a psychological boost that you didn't realize you needed. I keep several large containers of honey in my stockpile. Local honey is great if you can get it because it has additional benefits for allergies, but any pure honey will do the job. At about $8 to $12 per large container, it's an investment that literally lasts forever. Now that we've covered all 11 foods, I want to give you some practical tips on actually building and maintaining your stockpile. Because buying the food is only half the battle. Storing it properly, rotating it, and actually using it is where most people struggle. First, start small and build systematically. You don't need to go out and spend $1,000 today. Start with 1 or 2 items from this list and buy them in bulk. Next shopping trip, add 2 more. Within a few months, you'll have a solid foundation. Second, label everything with the purchase date. I use a permanent marker to write the month and year on every item as soon as I bring it home. This makes rotation easy. You eat the oldest items first and replace them with fresh stock. Third, store everything in a cool, dry, dark place. Heat, moisture, and light are the enemies of long-term food storage. A basement, interior closet, or pantry works great. If you're limited on space, get creative. Under beds, in closets, or even stacked in a spare room. Fourth, invest in proper storage containers for bulk items. 5-gallon food-grade buckets with Gamma Seal lids are perfect for rice, beans, and oats. Mylar rags with oxygen absorbers are ideal for long-term preservation. These aren't expensive, and they dramatically extend shelf life. Fifth, rotate your stock regularly. Every few months, do a pantry check. Move older items to the front and newer items to the back. Cook from your stockpile at least once a week. This keeps you familiar with what you have and ensures nothing goes to waste. Here's something else I learned through trial and error. You also need to store what you actually eat. Don't stockpile foods your family hates just because they have a long shelf life. If nobody will eat it during normal times, they definitely won't want to eat it during stressful times. Test recipes with your stored foods. Make sure you know how to prepare rice without a rice cooker. Learn how to cook dried beans from scratch. Experiment with canned vegetables in different dishes. The time to figure this out is now, not during an emergency. I also recommend having a manual can opener, multiple lighters or matches, and some basic cooking equipment that doesn't rely on electricity. A camping stove, a grill, or even a simple rocket stove can make all the difference. One more thing, water. I didn't include it as one of the 11 foods because technically it's not a food, but you absolutely must store water. The rule of thumb is 1 gallon per person per day for drinking and basic hygiene. For a family of 4, that's 4 gallons per day. For a 2-week supply, you're looking at 56 gallons. That sounds like a lot, but you can buy 5-gallon water containers for about $10 each, or you can fill clean 2-liter bottles with tap water and store them. Rotate your water supply every 6 months to keep it fresh.
Let's talk about cost for a minute, because I know some of you are thinking this sounds expensive. It doesn't have to be. If you follow the strategies I outlined and buy items on sale, you can build a 3-month food supply for a family of 4 for around $300 to $500. That breaks down to about $50 per week over 2 to 3 months. And remember, this isn't money you're throwing away. This is food you're going to eat. It's just sitting there waiting for when you need it. Think of it as an insurance policy that you can actually consume. Compare that to the cost of being caught unprepared during an emergency when prices spike or supplies run out. In 2020, we saw it happen in real time. Rice, beans, and canned goods disappeared from shelves almost overnight. Prices doubled or tripled on some items. The people who were prepared didn't panic. They just ate from their stockpiles while everyone else scrambled. That peace of mind is worth more than money. I also want to address the emotional and psychological aspect of preparedness because it's something people don't talk about enough. There's a huge difference between intellectual preparedness and emotional preparedness. You can have a fully stocked pantry and still feel anxious if you don't have confidence in your ability to use those supplies. That's why I encourage you to practice. Have a weekend where you challenge yourself to cook only from your stockpile. Turn it into a game with your family. See what creative meals you can make with rice, beans, canned vegetables, and pasta. This serves 2 purposes. First, it familiarizes you with your supplies. Second, it takes away the fear and unknown. Once you've successfully prepared meals from your stockpile in a low-stress environment, you'll have confidence that you can do it when it really matters. Another thing I want to mention is the importance of diversifying your stockpile beyond just these 11 items. These 11 are your foundation, your core essentials, but you should also consider adding things like canned soups, crackers, dried fruits, spices and seasonings, coffee or tea, flour, sugar, baking powder, and any specific dietary items your family needs. If someone in your house has allergies or special dietary requirements, factor that in. If you have infants, you need formula and baby food. If you have pets, they need food too. Preparedness isn't one size fits all. It's personal and should reflect your family's unique needs. Let me share one final story with you. In 2021, we had an ice storm that knocked out power across our entire region. Grocery stores were closed. Roads were impassable. We couldn't leave the house for almost a week, but we were fine. Actually, we were more than fine. We were comfortable. We cooked meals in our camping stove using our stored rice, beans, canned vegetables, and canned chicken. We drank water from our storage containers. We snacked on peanut butter and crackers. We sweetened our oatmeal with honey. The kids actually thought it was an adventure. Meanwhile, our neighbors were struggling. Some of them didn't have food because they hadn't planned ahead. We were able to help them, which felt good, but the real lesson was this. Preparedness isn't about paranoia or doom and gloom. It's about being a responsible adult who takes care of their family. It's about recognizing that disruptions happen, and when they do, you want to be ready.
So, here's my challenge to you. Before this week is over, pick 3 items from the list I just shared and buy them in bulk. Just 3. Maybe it's rice, beans, and canned vegetables, or pasta, peanut butter, and honey. Whatever makes sense for your family and your budget. Get those 3 items, label them, and store them properly. That's your first step. Next week, add 3 more. Keep building. In 3 months, you'll have a stockpile that gives you real security and peace of mind. And if you haven't already, grab that free guide I mentioned earlier. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. It's called the $50 Food Security Guide, and it's going to walk you through exactly how to turn $50 into a 90-day food supply. Inside, you'll find the exact shopping list with brands and prices, the 37 essential items most people forget, simple storage tricks that work in any space, emergency meals with no cooking required, and the step-by-step plan for scaling from 1 week to 3 months. It's completely free, no strings attached, just my way of helping you get prepared. If you found this video helpful, do me a favor, Hit that like button, drop a comment below telling me which of these 11 foods you're stockpiling first, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos on preparedness, self-reliance, and living a more secure life. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. Your friend, your family member, your neighbor. Preparedness is something we should all be talking about more openly, because when we help each other, we all become stronger and more resilient. Thanks for watching. I'm Zach, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay prepared, stay confident, and remember, the best time to prepare is always now.